What's good, fam? Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about 9/11 and not really about any of the information about the attack or anything that you would hear on the news or in a conspiracy video or anything like that, but just to tell you about how it affected me as an 11-year-old. And it was hard. It was very hard. I remember being at Wharton Middle School, an arts magnet school. Which was very stressful. Anyway, it was, there were fights every 10 minutes. There were teachers crying all of the time. It was a very roughneck school, um, which you wouldn't really think it would be at an art school. The Arts Magnet High School in Nashville is actually the complete opposite, which is weird. You would think it would be like just the same kids, but at Wharton, it was in a bad area of town, and they had to have a certain number of kids in that zone or whatever. So there, and it seemed like most of the kids that were there probably were there for zoning purposes. But yeah, I mean, there weren't a lot. There were talented people there. There were a lot of people who went to the arts high school, but the arts high school was a much smaller school. It didn't have nearly as many students. And it's just, this video isn't about my middle school, but it was a stressful time in my life. And I remember going to the teacher who cried the most class that day, and her turning on the television and crying. And she was crying because her daughter was supposed to be at the World Trade Center that day, and I hadn't heard about anything that had happened so far, but she turned on the TV. I think she had just found out about it because she started crying when we got in class, and she turned the television on, and we just watched the news, and I think that was the first time I ever had a panic attack. Honestly, it was just so. It didn't feel real. I felt like I was in like a tunnel, and I was shaking, and just I felt terrible. Uh, there were bomb threats called into my school that day, and all over Nashville, there were bomb threats everywhere. Um, so my mom ended up coming to pick me up from school, and I just went home and watched the news. That's when I became addicted to news and fear, stress, cortisol. You know, it's when I really picked up those habits. But it's also when I started to distrust pretty much everyone. As a kid, when you're told that your leaders are corrupt, it's like, well, if the leaders are corrupt, who isn't? You know. And so I lost my faith in my parents and in God, and it was just a really hard time. I mean, it feels like yesterday, I can't believe it was 19 years ago. But 9/11 changed my life forever in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways. I think it probably changed every American's life in a lot of ways. Um, but, it was one of the hardest days of my life. I remember we went to church, maybe not that night, but like very soon after 9/11, and they showed this slideshow with like this song playing. It was um, a PowerPoint presentation of just like people jumping out of the building, and mangled bodies under ash and fire, and it was terrifying, you know? I was at church and we were supposed to be commemorating these people, but really it seemed more like they were trying to push this narrative of fear and despair. And yeah, I mean, I completely lost my faith in God. I thought if God could let this happen, you know, there must not be a God. And of course, I don't feel that way anymore. But this world is very evil, and there are a lot of very evil men in this world who seek to keep you in despair, who seek to keep you afraid of your neighbors, who seek to box you in this rectangle in front of your face. And the answer is just to not accept that, you know? Just don't. I'm by no means am I perfect, you know? I like my phone. I didn't have a phone for almost 5 years because I know, I know, especially myself with my addictive personality, I know that it can be dangerous for me. Um, you know, I'm very into the news and politics and worldly stupid bullshit, and having something that makes it so accessible is not good for me. But I try to limit that, you know. But 9/11 was just it was probably one of the worst days of my life. And I'm not trying to like make this about me. I'm just trying to give perspective about how it was, what it was like for kids our age, like my age. And it was like very eye opening. I remember feeling like immediately I didn't trust like that our government had nothing to do with it. And I remember watching a lot of the adults around me and just thinking, God, these people are so dumb. Like, how can you blame Afghanistan? You know what I mean? Afghanistan doesn't have the resources to pull that off. The terrorists were from Saudi Arabia. Like, so yeah, we basically went to war with the wrong country, and then we invaded Iraq for, you know, tubes, and we are still there. We're still occupying most of the Middle East, and that was the goal. So I'm sorry. I know I said I wasn't trying to talk about conspiracy stuff or whatever, but just I think a lot of people, a lot of at least kids, felt that way and continue to feel that way. So yeah. All right. Sorry for this this fucking bummer of a video, but I love you guys. Feel free to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. Um, you can like this if you want. Share it. Love you.